Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into some pretty deep waters today, tackling a topic that sparked countless debates and, frankly, a whole lot of confusion.
Yeah, cancel culture, right? It's everywhere you look these days, it seems.
Exactly. I mean, is it a new phenomenon or is it just a new name for something we've always kind of dealt with? That's what we're going to try to unpack today using the sources you provided.
Right. So maybe to kick things off, how do we even define cancel culture? It's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but what does it actually mean?
Well, from what I've gathered, it seems like it's when, an individual or a company or even, like a work of art faces major backlash for doing or saying something that's considered offensive.
Right, so we're talking boycotts, losing their platform, or just serious reputational damage.
Yeah, and it can be pretty intense, right? Like the consequences can be really serious. But is this really new? I mean, haven't we always had ways of holding people accountable for their actions?
Well, that's what's so interesting, right? The term cancel culture might be relatively recent, but the concept of social ostracism and public shaming, those go way back. Think about ancient Greece. They had ostracism where they literally banished people from the city-state if they were considered a threat to the community.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
So are we saying that cancel culture is basically the modern version of that?
There are definitely some parallels. It's all about, social pressure, excluding people, and trying to protect the community from harm. But I think what makes cancel culture different is the speed and scale of it all. Especially with social media, things can go viral and escalate so quickly.
Yeah. One example that really stuck out to me from the source material was the Kevin Hart situation. Remember when he stepped down from hosting the Oscars in 2019?
Right, because of those homophobic tweets from years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And it all blew up so fast. It shows just how powerful cancel culture can be. But it also makes you wonder, is it fair? Is it always proportionate to the offense?
Right, and that brings us to the whole debate around cancel culture, right? Is it a necessary tool for accountability, or is it a dangerous form of mob justice? I mean, the sources we have definitely have opinions on both sides.
Totally. Some argue that it gives a voice to marginalized groups who might not have had the power to speak out before.
Yeah, that it can be a way to challenge those in power and drive some real positive change. I mean, look at the #MeToo movement. It definitely had its complexities, but it was incredibly powerful in exposing sexual misconduct and holding perpetrators accountable.
But then some sources also raised concerns about, the lack of due process. What about the chance for people to learn and grow from their mistakes?
Yeah, that's a big concern. It can feel like people are immediately condemned without a chance to explain themselves or even really understand what they did wrong. And there's definitely a risk of what's called mob mentality, where people just get caught up in the outrage and don't think critically about the situation.
It's almost like, everyone wants to be on the right side, so they jump on the bandwagon without really considering all the facts.
Exactly. And that's where it can become really problematic, especially for people who don't have the resources to, weather that kind of storm.
So, I mean, is there a way to find some kind of balance here? Can we hold people accountable while also being fair and making sure everyone gets a fair hearing?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Some experts suggest focusing on what's called restorative justice, where it's not just about punishment, but about repairing harm and having, open dialogue. Others talk about the importance of media literacy and critical thinking so people can better evaluate information and, not just blindly follow the crowd.
That makes a lot of sense. It feels like in this age of instant information overload, it's more crucial than ever to, really pause and think before we react.
Absolutely. Before you join the outrage, ask yourself, have I considered all sides? Is this information reliable? Am I contributing to a solution or just adding to the noise?
Right. And those are questions we should all be asking ourselves, not just when it comes to cancel culture, but in all aspects of our online lives.
That's a really good point. It all comes down to, fostering a culture of accountability that's also just nuanced. It's not easy, but it's a conversation we need to keep having.
Absolutely. And I think that's what we've tried to do today, explore these different perspectives and encourage everyone listening to really think critically about this complex issue.
Exactly. And maybe a final thought to leave everyone with is this. How do we balance the very real need for accountability with, protecting freedom of speech and ensuring fairness? It's a tough one.
It is. No easy answers, but it's something we all need to grapple with. So to everyone listening, keep thinking, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.